In this video, I'm going to be ranking the Fallout DLCs from worst to best. I decided not to include the Courier's package or the Courier DLC or the Gunrunners DLC, but the actual story quest DLCs. Let's start off with number 9. Number 9 was probably one of the harder ones to pick because I know people are going to get mad about it. It is The Pit. The Pit had a somewhat morally gray choices at times, which Fallout 3 rarely had. But its writing was bad. A lot of the times you had no choice whatsoever in the gameplay. And certain times it was just boring to play. And that is why it's at number 9. It's not a bad DLC by any means. It's just not that good. Number 8 goes to Operation Anchorage. Honestly, I think this is a bit underrated DLC. I like the story. I like the characters overall. It was an enjoyable DLC. And I thought it was a good kind of pre-war-y DLC, and it's definitely a little bit underrated in my opinion. And going into number 7 is Broken Steel. Broken Steel is one of those things, I like some of the things that it adds to the world of the Capital Wasteland, but I didn't like how the DLC continues the main quest in such a terrible way. It's Deus Ex Machina. It gave me a bad taste in my mouth, and that's why it's at number 7. Number 6 goes to Mothership Zeta. This was just fun to play. It's not an impressive DLC. It was a DLC that was fun to play. Probably wouldn't have bought it when it first came out, but it's still an enjoyable DLC, and that is why it's at number 6. Now we're getting into some pretty darn good DLC territory. Number 5 definitely goes to Old World Blues. I found myself laughing out loud so many times in this DLC. There are certain things that are so witty and well written, and there's so many weapons and things you get afterwards. It's just amazing, and the difficulty is like so great. But there is some problems. A lot of times it feels more like a shooting game than a actual Fallout game, which to me was a little disappointing. But overall, this is a very enjoyable DLC. Number 4, Point Lookout. This is an amazing DLC. Everything about Point Lookout is just so fun to play. The atmosphere was just great. The writing was actually good. And this is a Bethesda Game Studios thingamajigger. And it had good writing. I don't know why. But this definitely showed, that Bethesda Game Studios is not completely talentless. It just really surprised me. The writing was good, the characters were good, and overall, I felt like this was probably their best DLC they have ever done in any of their games. Really enjoyable DLC. I will say I didn't like having to kill the rednecks. I felt like they were just too overpowered. But I really, really enjoyed this DLC, and I definitely recommend on you checking it out. And now on the top 3, and number 3 goes to Honest Hearts. This DLC really made me feel for the world. I don't know why. I just had such an attachment to this thing that wasn't wrecked by all the nuclear devastation. That's what I loved about it. I loved seeing the tribes. I loved how different it was from New Vegas. It was so fun. All the stuff I got afterward was cool. And this was just one of those things that really sticks with you, and I really recommend you check it out. And now on the top 2. Number 2 goes to Dead Money. I know what you're saying. This should be like at the bottom of the list. But I felt like some quests were so amazingly made. Certain times it was difficult in a right way. I didn't find myself being blown up by a caller randomly. It's generally always my fault. And there's so many quests like the one with Dog, which are great. I mean, seriously, some are like just breathtakingly amazing. And it ended so climactically. It was amazing. And now my number 1 favorite DLC is probably a majority of people's favorite DLC, and that's Lonesome Road. I really liked Lonesome Road because I thought the characters were great. I thought the story was great. It was a bit vague, but I still think that this was one of those DLCs that really stick with you, and in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with this DLC. This is my favorite DLC, and it's probably one of my favorite DLCs of all time. It is definitely something that you should check out. I don't want to spoil anything about it, so just check it out. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Please unsubscribe, dislike, and flag, and I'll see you in the next video.